Hey, what do you at? My name is Troy. Welcome back to Facility D20. Well, if you're running a seafaring campaign like I am, you're going to have two major problems. One, you're going to give your party a ship, and two, you're going to give them a map. And it's only a matter of time before they assemble this entire fleet, and you have to have this huge naval battle. So come on in, because I got tiny little ships to make, and I got a whole bunch of rules to figure out so I can sort of get this little adventure on the go. I had these files from Printable Scenery, but they were huge, so I scaled them down to 20% and threw them on the bed and multiplied it and printed 5 at a time. I done 15 or 20 of these ships, and I had two different styles, this one and one that was a little bit smaller. I sliced this up at the 0.15mm quality. It took about 6 hours and 55 minutes, and it cost about $1.30 for all of these, so pretty cheap and pretty fast. Herbal essence, because she's worth it. Hairspray is really good for helping the filament adhere to the bed, and it's also really easy to clean up. So once that was ready, I threw the memory card in the printer, selected the files, set up the GoPro for a time lapse, and hit print. Now my printer does a self-leveling function, which is really cool because it just helps speed up the printing process, and that's what it's doing here now. It's just running through that self-leveling process. It runs a little line of filament to clean out the nozzle. Starts with the skirt, and once the skirt is done, it just flies right into printing. The push for 2,000 subscribers is still on. I would love for you guys to join this little community of mine by smashing that subscribe button and following along. We're always up to something cool here in the facility, that's for sure. Yeah, I popped them off like that for dramatic effect. Then it was time to clean them up. A little bit of stranding on this neat filament, so I just hit it with the lighter. Got rid of that stuff. You see me do this a few times. And I decided to print them in brown for obvious reasons, and all I had to do was take a little bit of cheap acrylic paint and dry brush on some highlights super fast. And the plan here was just to get a bit of color on these things, nothing fancy or special. For the sails, I just cut up some small squares of craft foam, cut them into little blocks, got some toothpicks, cut them off for the mast, and used a bit of crazy glue and made these little masts. I drill out the holes and just stuck the toothpicks in the slots with a bit of hot glue. And I was a little bit worried this was all going to like break and smash up, but it's actually fairly strong. I think it's because the toothpicks are so small that there just wasn't a lot of room for them to break off. Put a little piece on for the nose. And this is the other type of ship I have. It's a 2-sail ship, and I also made some sails for black ships, so I could have white and black ships. That way we could tell the difference between the DMs and the player ships. You can see that's the 2-mast ship, and this is a 3-mast ship, which is a little bit bigger. Now that the tiny ships are done, I'm going to show you the rules I came up with. I took a little bit from Ghost of Saltmarsh, I took a little bit from 40K, I put them together, I made something simple, fast, and cool, so stick around for the rest of this video. I'm going to show you what I came up with, and hopefully you can use it in your games. Now it was time to do the rules. I decided to keep it pretty simple with the rules. I got a very easy round sequence, which consists of a movement, a combat action. The ships have some features like movement speed, hit points, armor saves. I got a few special actions threw in there for some fun, like full speed ahead for extra speed, taking aim for extra cannonball shots, attach or detach so you can board the vessels and fight them melee, and some little fun ram rules too. If you guys are interested in these rules, I'm going to post them down in the comments below so you can check them out. Here we have our battlefield. On the right here with the black sails is going to be the DM's ships, and the left here with the white sails is going to be the player's ships. So I'm going to go over how these simple rules work for this minigame. To start things off, we're going to talk about how this is all going to take place at the start of the regular combat initiative for D&D. So when all the players roll initiative, the naval battles will happen right at the very start. So the first thing that the players need to do is go through an entire round sequence. And then in order to get a round sequence started, the players roll off against the DM. The highest goes first. Any similar rolls is re-rolled, so this time the DM goes first. We will alternate turns ship for ship, so the DM will run one ship through all its actions, the players will run one ship through all their actions, and so on and so forth until all the ships have had a turn. If one side has more ships than the other side, then at the end of it, the person with the more ships just completes all their ship actions at the end, and then the round ends. So essentially what happens is that the ships can go through actions, and they have one movement, one combat, and one special action per ship. So actions consist of either the movement action, combat action, and a special action. Movement's pretty straightforward. Each block represents 10 feet, and the ship has a maximum speed of 60 feet, and they can make up to a 90-degree turn. So movement can either be straightforward, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, or they can go on an angle, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, or they can go 30 feet, make a turn, go 30 feet. Or they can do one 45-degree turn, a second 45-degree turn. As long as they don't go past a 90-degree turn and past 60 feet of movement, is fine. Now, one of the special actions that a ship can do is called full speed ahead, and that grants them an additional 30 feet of movement, so they can go up to 90 feet of movement and do the same amount of turns. A ship cannot pass through an object, or a ship cannot pass through another ship. Then of course we have combat. There are two types of combat. The first one is ranged and the second one is melee, and they both work essentially the same way. So at ranged combat, cannonballs have a range up to 40 feet or 4 blocks. A ship has to draw an uninterrupted line of sight to another ship. They don't have to be broadside, they could be like this, it's fine, but as long as they can draw an uninterrupted line of sight to the opposing ship. Cannons have to face the ship, pretty straightforward. All you have to do is roll 3 cannonball shots, 4 and higher hits. So you can see we got 4 hits. We roll to see if it penetrates the armor. 4 and higher penetrates the armor. So we've got 1 hit gets through, and then the targeted ship has to roll an armor save of 4 or higher. This time it's a 5, so no damage gets through. Ships have a total capacity of 6 hit points. Once the ship reaches 0 hit points, it is immobilized and cannot move or shoot. And you roll a d6, and on a 1 or 2, it totally sinks. On a 1, we would have our ship totally sunk and removed from play altogether. Now, if a ship were to be behind an object and a full line of sight can't be drawn, then when attacks are fired, the targeted ship gets an extra +1 to their armor. So in this case, if we were to fire 3 shots, 2 gets hits, 2 wounds, and this time we have 3 plus armor saves here for this ship. So you can see 1 wound gets through and 1 saves. The rock would provide some cover. So you can still fire, it's just going to grant some cover and then increase the armor save of the other ship. The second type of attack is a melee attack, and this occurs when 2 ships are touching and attached to each other. Now, in order for a ship to attach, you have to do what's called an attach test. And it's a D6 roll-off. The ship that's attempting to attach, in this case the black sail ships, gets a +1 on their roll. Roll off, so here we get a 5 for the black ship and a 1 for the white ship. So the black ship successfully attaches, and then he can do his 3 attacks in melee range. The next special action I want to show you guys is called the ram. So in order to ram, a ship needs at least 20 feet of movement, and they got to bring their nose in contact with a hull of another ship. When they do this, they're granted 4 attacks upon the ship that they are ramming. They roll 4 dice, 4 higher hits, 4 higher wounds, and then the ship that got hit's got to roll for a save. In this case, it takes 1 point of damage. Ramming ships, however, also take 1 point of damage to themselves automatically, so it's a very high risk-reward situation. And hopefully this is going to be a really fun mini game for my players. Let me know in the comments if you got some last minute additions we can throw in here for these rules just to spice things up a bit very simply.